Have you seen like your friend Johanna beat you at laser tag before?
Bull crap.
Oh, okay.
You
Just
legit
checking.
did not win.
I did win.
That's not true. Next week's post show we're recording at Extreme Fun Center.
That would be so fun.
From the laser tag arena. It's going on the church budget.
I'm just saying I did one time. I'm not saying that I will ever again. And it was really hard for you to accept.
That's not true.
I
It's a
wish that I could call
technicality.
them back and be like, hey, do you have the history from this date 3 years ago? You didn't get a different one.
I did.
No, you didn't.
I did.
No, you didn't.
I did. All right, let's get going.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the post show.
I didn't like a. Oh, let me get a little bit of sippy water.
Anyways. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the post show.
I legit wasn't ready this time. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Waste and Post Show, the Post Show with the Most Show, with the Mo and Joe Show. Mo and
The
Joe
Mojo.
Show. Mojo Show.
Mojo Show, get it
All right,
right.
one more time. Ready?
Hey everybody, welcome back to the post show with the host shows and most shows, Mo and Joe.
The
Mojo Show.
We did it.
I like how the voice got low.
And
I
we
think
have
I
a
did that.
catchphrase, get in the zone. Mojo zone.
I like it. Well, we are in a different location today I don't know if you feel this, but they feel further from me.
Yeah.
Do they feel further from you?
Yeah, a little bit. I feel like it's just a little bit more serious. It might be because we're dressed in all black. We're a little somber.
That
you
is
know?
true.
We're like, seems like we're really trying to up our production.
We're about to get some
value a
hate
little
because
bit.
every time that I wear all black, I get a lot of hate.
Really? From who?
I'm not going to say who because I don't want to call them out,
Huh.
but a lot of people.
You'd say maybe people that are a little judgmental in the church?
No, it's not anybody that goes to this church.
Oh, wow.
Anyways,
Interesting.
they used to though.
Interesting, Reagan.
Anyways,
Happy 30th.
so let's talk about what we're here to talk about.
Let's talk about what we're here
Yep.
to talk about. We are here to talk everything about Levi's sermon, which we have both listened to, which isn't always the case. Sometimes.
And you heard Psalm 119 for the first time
Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
in its entirety.
I love that psalm.
Uh-huh.
I've been reading it every
And today's post show is Mike's going to recite it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All 156 verses.
Yeah. But in all seriousness, you and I had already had some great conversations. We had a little bit of, as we were switching around locations and stuff,
Yeah.
we've had a little bit of extra time to prep. And I feel like we've actually, if we would just been recording what we've been talking about, I feel like
It would have been good. But yeah, I was thinking about, I think it was when Levi said he finished reading Psalm 119 and then gave people permission to be distracted to continue to read Psalm 119.
Yeah.
And it took me back to being a kid, and it made me think about all of my church experiences as a kid and how more oftentimes than not I was distracted in a church service, and how even as an adult I find myself that way. And then I thought about how in a lot of churches, and we even do this here, you have activities for kids when they go into the church service because they're going to get distracted, but then there's somehow that gets cut off after a certain age where it's okay, no more distraction, you got to focus in. And it made me realize and appreciate that growing up, my parents and my family, there was not a lot of social expectation to not be distracted or to even be in church. It was just kind of we're going to let you figure it out. Whatever age you are, you're going to do what's appropriate for your age. They were always focused, and they would never give in to our distractions if we were trying to distract them, but they would kind of just let us figure it out. And I think that really impacted me now as an adult, being in a church and hearing a lot of sermons, whether either physically at a church or at home, even on a podcast. I can get very easily distracted, and feeling the freedom for that to be okay.
Yeah. And I think that's a rare experience, honestly.
Oh, I do too. And that's why it made me think about it more. And I was like, I don't think that's common.
Yeah. I can't imagine because I'm not a parent yet.
Yeah.
But it has to be one of the most incredibly difficult lines to walk in your entire life. The decision, you obviously can't give someone your faith.
Oh yeah, no.
But you can equip them and you can teach them and you can
show them.
But just to get to that point where you're how much of a heavy hand do I have to have in this process?
Mm-hmm.
And how much can I just sort of set back and say, I'm going to lead by example, and I'm going to show you what the right choices are for myself and hope that you follow in those footsteps. I likened it to earlier, like I would imagine it's sort of like watching your kid ride the bike without the training wheels on for the first time. And you're like, I know they're going to slam and I know they're going to skin their knees, but I kind of have to trust that process. Otherwise, they're going to be dependent on these training wheels their whole life, and that's not really riding a bike. You know?
And I think it's even heightened when it comes to faith, because it's like this is more important than learning to ride a bike. This is everything.
Some would say
and,
that.
and so it's a lot more challenging, I think, to just like let go and let God, as people would say, like work in their hearts, because you so badly want that for them. And like I think about that in my friendships too. Like there are a lot of friendships where that's hard for me. Like we speak a lot about redemptive friendships. It's hard for me to just like let go and let the Lord work in their life, and just know that like by the way that I'm acting and by the way that I'm staying focused, or maybe even feeling distracted, that gives them the freedom to know that like this is not like a rule book you have to follow. You have to sit, you have to be quiet, you can't check your phone, you can't do this. Like it shows them important things that are good to learn about following Jesus.
Yeah. Who's that guy that has the church in Portland, Bridgetown? Do you know his name is?
No.
He's a really great author. John Mark Comer, thank you, Willie. John Mark Comer has this book, and I believe this is where this quote came from, but I've had this quote that's sort of lived at the top of my notes. Like I pinned it to the top of my notes because I think about it every time I go to talk to our middle schoolers, or even like if I'm doing a Sunday morning or a Wednesday evening. I think of this quote, which is, "A sermon is not a prayer, it's not a lecture, it's to make people feel the presence of the kingdom of God." And it's the reason I think about that is like all of our relationships with God are incredibly individual, right? By nature, they should be. Like what we're talking about, you can't give someone your relationship. Your relationship is unique to yourself. And so that experience of experiencing the presence of God is going to be different from yourself to myself to Willie. Like it's going to be different for each of us. For some people, they experience God more heightened when they're in nature, and some people only experience God when they're in silence and solitude, journaling. And so to look at someone and say, well, you're not experiencing God correctly, even within the setting of a church where we kind of have this idea like this is what it should look like to worship here, this is what it should look like to receive here. It's difficult, and I think it's incorrect, because for each of us, our relationship is unique. For me, I don't enjoy sitting in worship settings.
Yeah.
I feel like that's not a way that I connect to God as much as I have tried in the past. It just I've always had that sort of imposter syndrome feeling like I don't belong in this setting, this is not for me. But what I have found great success in is like sitting in the back of the room and journaling. And this isn't something I do at Awaken, but this is something I do every time I visit another church. It's like I find the spot furthest in the back and I journal, and I just spend some time with the background music like I do when I'm at home, and I just get to spending time receiving what God has for me.
Yeah.
I don't know if does that resonate?
Yeah, well, I think what I was just thinking about when you said that is I was wondering, why do you sit in the back? Like, was there a reasoning behind that?
It's the social pressure of like, people looking out and being like, ooh, he's not doing the things that we're supposed to be doing right now, which is like the cookie cutters of Christianity, sort of what worship should look like. And again, I don't think that's correct. I think worship is individual to the individual. And for me, what worship looks like is seated, is spending time not listening to the person singing, but listening to what God has saying to me in that moment. Which
is ultimately like a big part of worship, is that you're receiving, you're giving back to God, but also you're receiving what he's saying to you, whether it's coming through the lyrics, and a lot of people, they connect that way. I am one of those people. I'm opposite to Mikey. I very much connect through the traditional sense of worship and through singing. But I think it is really important to remember, for one, to not let somebody who's doing something different than you distract you, because I think that's super easy to like get down this train of thought where it's like, what is Mikey doing? Why is he doing that? Like, what's happening?
Why is he speaking in tongues again?
Yeah. And so I think that's important to remember. And I think a cool thing that could maybe help remind you is to think about your own life and like think about the ways that are unique that you experience God. And then think about that multiplied by all the people just in our church or in your life, and how many different ways there are to experience God.
And also, I'd say to even challenge that, if you're coming up with a blank when Johanna's saying like unique ways that you experience God, think about the ways that you experience joy in your life, like the things that bring you like unbridled joy in your life, and think about ways that you can invite God into that process if you haven't already. Whether that be like you really enjoy cooking your meals at night, or like cooking for others, like maybe you incorporate prayer into those moments, whatever it looks like think about those moments of pure unadulterated joy in your life, and think about, if God is not already a part of those moments, how can I invite him into that process?
Yeah.
I guess that'd be my practical application for the week.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Anything else you guys say before we get out of here?
That's all.
Okay. Love you
See you guys later.
See you next week.
Okay, let's do chair wars.
Chair wars.